So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness can be described as the willingness and capacity to be equally present with all events and experiences with discernment, curiosity, and kindness. So let's take a look at that definition again. The willingness and capacity to be equally present with all events and experiences with discernment, curiosity, and kindness. So simply put, mindfulness is about awareness, the capacity to be with your experience, non-judgmentally, as it unfolds. Mindfulness enables us to be present in our own lives. It offers a healthy alternative to living our lives inside our heads, forever at the mercy of our thoughts. When we are being mindful, we are paying attention in the present moment to things as they are, rather than losing ourselves in thoughts about how we would prefer things to be. By consciously directing our attention to our present moment experience, we become grounded. If we are aware in the moment, we are able to choose how to respond skillfully to our situation rather than react unconsciously. Thus, decisions are more likely to be made from a place of relative calm than from a state of deep worry or blind panic. As we develop a more open, more intimate way of relating to body sensations, thoughts and feelings, we wake up to our experience rather than sleepwalking our way through our lives. We begin living without the weight of anxiety, depression, self-doubt, self-criticism, low self-esteem, and social awkwardness. We stop feeling overwhelmed by thoughts, feelings, and body sensations. We can begin living with some peace of mind, comfortable in our own bodies, no longer feeling separate and isolated in the world. Whatever is happening to us in our lives at any moment, we can approach our situation with equanimity and serenity. So mindfulness is not about stopping your thoughts, which is a very common misconception, nor is it about achieving a certain state. For example, relaxation is often a very pleasant byproduct of mindfulness practice, but mindfulness is not a relaxation therapy. Not exactly. Feeling more relaxed is one of the many welcome byproducts of mindfulness practice, but we don't meditate in order to feel relaxed. Let's look at it this way. If you do a relaxation exercise and you feel other than relaxed at the end of it, you would probably feel a sense of disappointment, even failure. But if we are being mindful, what matters is that we are paying attention to our experience and being with it as it unfolds. Simply noticing whatever comes up, be it pleasant, unpleasant, or something in between, rather than turning away from it, wishing it would recede from our experience. At all times, what we think and do is determined to a large degree by what we fail to notice. If we are noticing, paying attention, we cannot fail at mindfulness. If we are turning up in our own lives, we cannot be doing mindfulness wrong. So imagine, if you can, the following scenario. You're on holiday, walking along a seafront on a beautifully sunny summer's day. There's so much that you could be bringing your attention to. The sandy beach, the noise of children playing, the gentle forward movement of the waves, music booming from a pair of speakers, the heady scent of cold vinegar cascading onto hot chips wrapped in newspaper. However, you're completely immersed in thoughts about what your father-in-law said to you at the fete last week, and in thoughts about how you never enjoy meeting the in-laws as you feel judged by them. And you start wondering what your in-laws really think about you, and then you begin wondering what your friends really think of you. And the memory arises of that kid at school who called you an idiot, even though you'd never knowingly done anything to deserve the insult. Then there was the time, and then there was the time, and then there was the time. Meanwhile, you are barely aware of anything the beautiful summer's day has to offer. Your experience has narrowed itself down to a stream of gloom-ridden thoughts. Now imagine this scenario. You are in a restaurant having lunch with a friend you've not seen for some time. You're delighted to see them, but halfway through the meal, your thoughts drift towards the meeting with your boss the following day. There have been a few redundancies at the firm recently. Maybe you're in line for the chop next. If you lose your job, how will you pay your mortgage? If your house is repossessed, what will become of you? Will you end up living on the streets, picking through waste bins for something to eat? What will become of your wife and 2 kids? Will all your friends desert you? Lost in the chain reaction of thoughts, you barely notice the taste of the food you're eating and the wine you're drinking. You're barely aware of what your friend is saying to you. When you return home later and your partner asks you how the lunch went, you have scant recollection of anything that happened or anything that was said. You can barely remember any of the worries and concerns. You can barely remember any of the worries and concerns that swept your attention away like leaves on a stormy day. So you get the picture. When your attention is snatched away by thoughts about the past or the future, you're not participating in the present moment. You're somewhere else. In a sense, your body is in one place and your mind in another. The gap between your body and mind then becomes a fertile breeding ground for feelings of anxiety and general unease. The fact is that no matter how hard we try, we cannot influence the past, nor can we influence the future. We can learn from the past, but we cannot reside there. Furthermore, we don't need to dwell on past events as though they are happening in the here and now. With this realization, we can give up on efforts to rewrite the past. We can plan wisely for the future, but thoughts about the future should not paralyze us with worry and fear. We might think we know how the future is going to unfold, but the truth is that we can never be certain. At best, the future is an educated guess. Mindfulness teaches us to be with our experience in the present moment. It also teaches us not to expect the present moment to be a certain way. When you accept your experience fully, you are much less likely to get caught up in it, be defined by it, or feel overwhelmed by it. Most of us will be familiar with the feeling of being miles away, lost in thoughts and unaware of our surroundings. According to experts, our minds wander at least 50% of the time, which sounds like a conservative estimate. Either way, for at least 50% of the time, we're on autopilot, acting without conscious intention. In other words, we are not aware of what we are doing while we are doing it. It's perfectly normal for your mind to wander. Mindfully speaking, the important thing is realizing it, then bringing your attention back to what is occurring in the present moment. And research has shown that people are less happy when their minds are wandering than when they are focusing on what they are doing. Thinking about what is not happening makes us more unhappy than paying attention to what is happening. Doing some things automatically, without having to think too hard about them, can sometimes be an advantage. Driving a car would be exhausting if, every time you got behind the wheel, you had to think carefully about where the clutch pedal, throttle and brake pedal were located. But if you live your life on automatic, you miss what is going on around you. If our wandering thoughts amounted to only to occasional bouts of harmless daydreaming, there wouldn't be a problem. But our minds seem to be primed to focus on negative rather than positive stimuli, and it is all too easy to get drawn into negative spirals of thinking. It's as though we are programmed as human beings to seek pleasure, but it is the unpleasant stuff that detains us. We seem to have a natural tendency to hold on to unpleasant experiences, to dwell on the negative. The brain's bias has been described as Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive experiences. Happy thoughts come and go, but bleak ruminations about the past or speculative thoughts about life as a series of potential dangers can lock us into a state of never-ending anxiety that can be highly detrimental to our health. But mindfulness can go a long way towards helping us change these thinking habits. Being mindfully aware rather than being on automatic pilot allows for the possibility of freedom from the mechanical, reactive, habitual patterns of mind. And scientific research has consistently shown that regular mindfulness practice can reshape the mind so that it is naturally geared towards greater emotional equilibrium and therefore greater happiness and well-being.